Hey guys, Nalewanyj here, bodytransformationtruth.com, and this is part 5 of my bodybuilding and fat loss Q&A. As always, you can use the links in the description box below to access all of the other Q&As that are available. There's a lot of very useful information there, so make sure to go ahead and check that out after you finish with this video, and let's get started. So question number 1 is, what are the very best cardio exercises for burning fat in the most effective way? Well, ultimately, cardio is simply a calorie burning tool that you use in conjunction with proper diet for the purpose of maintaining an ongoing consistent calorie deficit over time. And the truth here is that any form of exercise that increases your heart rate and that allows you to generate a reasonable amount of overall intensity over a sustained period of time is going to be an acceptable form of cardio exercise when it all comes down to it. And so for that reason, my recommendation here is to just choose your cardio method or methods with the overall goal of adherence in mind first and foremost. In other words, just go with the forms of cardio that you enjoy the most and that you'll be most likely to stick to over the long term. You'll still end up getting the same basic results in the big picture this way, not to mention that it will turn your day-to-day training program into something that you'll actually look forward to and have fun with, as opposed to something that you just have to get over with. So if that means using regular traditional gym equipment like treadmills and stair steppers and bikes, then that's totally fine. But it could also mean other activities as well, things like swimming or jumping rope or heavy bag work. It could mean playing sports a couple times a week. It could mean drop-in classes like spin or kickboxing or even fast-paced yoga. Just make sure to use some basic common sense here if building muscle size and strength is a central goal of yours, just by making sure that whatever form of cardio you do choose doesn't interfere with your actual weight training workouts. So for example, you wouldn't want to do a rock climbing session before training back or heavy bag work before training, say, chest and triceps. Question number 2, how should a training plan be structured if the goal is to build just a modest amount of muscle and achieve a more athletic look as opposed to a bulky bodybuilder look? Well, whether someone is aiming to get as big and strong as they possibly can or just put on a more modest amount of muscle, the basic workout plan that I'd give to either person would ultimately be the same, and it would still be based on increasing muscle size at the fastest possible rate. And this is because achieving significant muscle growth as a natural trainee is a very slow and very gradual process, and intentionally trying to slow down your rate of progress because you're afraid that you'll get too big is really just going to be counterproductive. A standard rate of actual lean muscle growth for a complete beginner is probably going to be somewhere around half a pound per week. And so there's absolutely no realistic scenario where you're going to suddenly wake up one day to realize that you've accidentally gone too far. And instead, you're always going to see your muscle gains unfolding from a mile away, and you'll be easily able to modify your program as those gains come, depending on your preference. So again, just focus on maximizing your overall rate of progress by centering your workouts around big basic compound exercises, by training with a reasonably high level of overall volume and intensity and frequency, sticking to a moderate rep range, and placing all of your focus on achieving progressive overload over time. Question number 3, what are your top recommendations when it comes to pre-workout supplementation? To be honest, I really don't recommend a whole lot here. This is a category of supplements that's gotten completely out of control over the past few years, and most trainees place way too much value on them and spend way too much money on them. The majority of popular pre-workout products that are available these days hide their ingredient dosages behind a proprietary blend, and even those that do list the specific amounts are typically underdosed anyway. On top of that, they usually contain way more ingredients than is actually necessary, a lot of which aren't even backed by good supportive research. and they're usually overpriced as well. The reality is that a very high percentage of the benefits that you get from most pre-workout products is just a result of the caffeine content anyway. And so you can very easily make your own perfectly effective homemade pre-workout blend using a few simple ingredients and for way less money. My favorite basic pre-workout combination is to just go with 100 to 200 milligrams of caffeine anhydrous paired up with 1 to 3 grams of L-tyrosine and taken 30 to 45 minutes prior to training. And if you do have a high tolerance for caffeine, you can increase that to 300 milligrams. The caffeine will increase your energy levels and your mental focus, as well as reduce muscular fatigue, and the L-tyrosine will work downstream from the caffeine to boost its effects further without causing additional jitters. If you do want a slightly more potent combination, then you can also consider adding in 1 to 2 grams of acetyl L-carnitine and or 6 to 8 grams of citrulline malate as well. However, this just depends on your individual tolerance and preference and how much money you want to spend on this area of your supplement plan. Question number 4, what are the best carbohydrate sources for muscle building or fat loss diets? So proper carbohydrate selection really doesn't need to be anywhere near as complicated as most people make it out to be, and there are only a couple of basic rules that I would recommend you follow. So first off, just keep in mind that when it all comes down to it, carbohydrates are really just sugar. So whether you consume a bowl of rice or an apple or a chocolate bar, it all gets eventually broken down into basic glucose one way or another. And the only important factor to pay attention to here is the fact that those carbs are packaged up in different ways. So some are found in high fiber, nutrient dense food sources, so things like fruits and vegetables, and others are found in foods that might contain little or no fiber or real nutritional value at all, so things like sugary drinks or other typical junk food. Now, since consuming an adequate amount of fiber and vitamins and minerals and other phytonutrients is an important part of optimizing your bodybuilding and fat loss results, your main goal here should just be to get the bulk of your overall carb intake, so I'd say at least like 80%, from minimally processed higher fiber sources. So things like fruits, vegetables, oatmeal, rice, potatoes, whole grains, etc. After that, just to get some extra insurance that your body's micronutrient needs are being fully met, aim to get in 2 servings of vegetables and 1 to 2 servings of fruit per day as part of that total. And then from there, as long as at least 80% of your carbs are coming from those types of foods, the rest can be made up of whatever sources you'd like, as long as it fits into your daily totals. And it's really as simple as that. As long as you're following those 3 basic guidelines, then I'd say that that's really all you need to worry about when it comes to carb intake, and there's really no need to analyze it any further. And question number 5, just how big of a role do genetics play when it comes to building muscle? So the simple and the honest answer here is that as with most things in life, yes, genetics do play a reasonably significant role in determining how quickly or how slowly someone will gain muscle. Now, there are many different factors that are going to come into play here, including muscle fiber type, testosterone levels, growth hormone levels, metabolic rate, and recovery ability, just to name a few. And on top of this, certain genetic factors will also play a role in determining how your actual physique will look once you've put on a significant amount of muscle. So things like muscular shape, your muscle insertion points, and your bone structure. Now, that said, there are 2 important things that I would point out here. First off, even though there are some people out there with exceptionally good muscle building genetics, as well as people with particularly bad muscle building genetics, the vast majority of the population, so most of the people watching this video, are still going to fall somewhere in the middle. So don't let your perception be thrown off by muscle magazines and by what you see online. Fitness model type bodies with 6-pack abs all year round only represent a very, very select minority of the population, like the absolute upper percentile, and many of those people aren't even natural athletes to begin with. And secondly, No matter what your individual genetic capacity for gaining muscle is, the truth is that it really has no practical relevance to your program anyway. Unless you have some underlying health condition that makes it very difficult for you to put on muscle, virtually anyone can build a significant amount of size and strength given enough time and given enough consistency. And for some people, it just might take a shorter or a longer period of time than average. So the whole concept of genetics and muscle growth is really just irrelevant, and your only job is to train hard, eat right, stay focused, stay consistent, and just make the best of what you have. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching this video lesson. I hope you found this Q&A useful here today. If you want to learn everything you need to know to structure a complete muscle building or fat burning plan that maximizes your results, along with concrete step-by-step training, nutrition, and supplementation plans that you can follow, make sure to head over to bodytransformationtruth.com and grab my complete body transformation blueprint system by clicking the icon at the top of the video or by using the link in the description box below. If you did enjoy the video, as always, please make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to stay up to date on future videos. And make sure to check out my official blog over at SeanNal.com for all of my latest articles, tips, and other updates. Talk to you again soon.